Today on 5-Minute Trivia, we're introducing a new recurring segment. Once a month, we'll take on an important work of literature and do it all the justice 5 minutes will allow. On today's 5-Minute Lit, we thought we'd start with one of the longest books ever written and spend as little time as we can talking about it. That's right. Today, we're taking on War and Peace.
We choose to go to the moon.
Right now, you like me.
Practice? We're talking about practice, man.
Welcome to 5-Minute Trivia, where we're making the world smarter 5 minutes at a time. I'm your host, R.M. Zuberi. War and Peace was a book written by Russian author Leo Tolstoy in the 1860s. Tolstoy was born into Russian nobility, and his father fought in the War of 1812 against Napoleon's forces. Bit of a spoiler there. Tolstoy himself was also a veteran. He served in the Crimean War as an artillery officer. His war experience and his travels around the world eventually transformed him into a Christian pacifist. He was a perpetual bridesmaid for the Nobel Prize. He was nominated 4 times for peace and twice for literature. So, what is the deal with War and Peace? Why did it take Leo Tolstoy 587,000 words to write it? Like, maybe he should have just written a book called War and called it a day. So, the first thing we should get out of the way is the idea that War and Peace is a novel. It is, in the sense that it's a work of fiction, but it's so much more. Tolstoy himself said, it's not a novel, even less a poem, and even less a historical chronicle. Okay, Leo, then what is it? Well, he's not around anymore to answer that question, so we'll just have to do our best. When we think of history, we think of great men, great battles, heroes, villains, right? Well, not according to Tolstoy. Tolstoy believed that history was best told through the stories of people who were just sort of swept up in its wake. And that's what he set out to do. He was going to get the details right, even if that meant visiting battlefields himself with surveying tools or studying correspondence between generals. And he was going to tell you, the reader, exactly what he thought about all this. The original title of his book was The Year 1805, and he started writing it in 1863. It would take him 6 years before it was done, by which time he had changed the name to War and Peace. The setting of the book is Russia from 1805 to 1820. War and Peace follows 5 aristocratic families as they battle over inheritance, play out the kind of romantic entanglements that you need a flowchart for, and, go to war. Pierre Bezukhov is the closest thing this book has to a main character. He's a socially awkward love child of a Russian aristocrat who lives in St. Petersburg, which is the new, very cosmopolitan capital of Russia. When his dad dies, he inherits a fortune. And suddenly, nobody finds him socially awkward anymore. Weird how that works, I know. He uses his newfound money to party it up with his best friend Andrei, fall in love, get married, fall out of love, and then fall back in love with the same woman before falling out of love again. He also meets a different woman named Natasha Rostova, who lives with her family in Moscow, the former capital that's now just a Russian backwater compared to the glitzy European St. Petersburg. She has her own romantic tribulations and family issues. At one point, Pierre, who's still married, falls in love with her too. Now, wait a minute. This book isn't called Love and Peace. It's War and Peace. So where's the war in all this? Glad you asked. The Napoleonic War started in 1803 when the British coalition declared war against Napoleon's France. In 1805, Napoleon won the Battle of Austerlitz, which occurred in the modern-day Czech Republic, and effectively ended the Holy Roman Empire. We're not going to get into the Holy Roman Empire here. That's like another 5 minutes. But the French writer and philosopher Voltaire once said that the Holy Roman Empire was neither holy, nor Roman, nor an empire. Anyway, in 1812, Napoleon invaded Russia from modern-day Poland. He advanced quickly on Moscow, which led to the Battle of Borodino. This is considered the turning point of the Russian campaign, both by history and in War and Peace. Tolstoy spends a lot of time analyzing the battle. He takes on the character of Napoleon, who he regards as a vainglorious, pompous buffoon who's more lucky than good. Pierre Bezukhov is there in the Battle of Borodino, along with his party buddy Andrei. Even though the battle is kind of a draw, the Russians retreat for tactical reasons and leave Moscow to the French after burning the city, so there's nothing the French can use. Natasha's family held out, but finally leave when the French take over. Pierre tries to assassinate Napoleon and ends up getting caught and taken prisoner. Eventually, the harsh Russian winter wears down the French troops, and they are forced to withdraw from Moscow and then Russia. Pierre gets free of the French and finds Natasha. They get married among the ruins. There's a lot of tying up of loose ends, but generally this is a story with a happy ending. So that's where the narrative more or less ends. But Tolstoy's not just here to tell a story. He spends the rest of his 587,000 words going after historians, in particular, the great man theory of history. This was an idea popularized by a Scottish philosopher named Thomas Carlyle. Basically, this theory said that history happened because great men made it happen, and you could understand history by understanding these men. Tolstoy believed that this was nonsense. History just didn't happen like that. It was incremental. It happened in the context of other events, and it was often moved by people that would not be considered great men. And he was probably right. I mean, World War I happened because an unemployed student shot an archduke. If I had to summarize War and Peace, I'd say that this is the book about everything. There's a story about war and peace, but they're just a framework for Tolstoy to talk about love and money and old and new and family and courage and history. This is what makes War and Peace not just one of the greatest works ever written, but one of the greatest stories ever told. It's been made into 4 films, 3 TV series, a Prokofiev opera, and even a Broadway musical called Natasha, Pierre, and the Great Comet of 1812. So clear your schedule, settle into your comfiest chair, and get reading. That's our show this week. Join us next time, and thanks for listening.